Script here with another video, and I've been saying for a long time that, and even in my last video, I was mentioning how what Disney Star Wars seems to do with their writing style and their content creation is to create a problem and have something nonsensical happen, and then make a whole pile of content explaining that to get people to spend their money, and also to give the writers the ease of passage where they don't have to really think of anything really difficult. They can just kind of, oh, well, I'm going to spend we're going to spend an entire television show explaining this problem that the sequel trilogy in Star Wars created, or what have you. And that seems to be what they're doing. And if you look at something like, for example, The Mandalorian Season 3, where you have basically the entire season is sort of trying to get us to accept and see Palpatine's return as valid. And we see that with all the Gideon clones, which I guess now we're just running around naked somewhere. And we're also seeing that now with the Bad Batch Season 3. So they've enabled themselves through resurrecting a dead Palpatine to create a plethora of stories now and content that they hope you purchase via the fact that they brought him back for 5 minutes of screen time. Even though it made absolutely no sense, and we literally watched him go down the shaft in the Death Star, creating some sort of gaseous explosion, and then the Death Star exploding. But of course, we're supposed to sit here and believe that he's been resurrected. And I understand he was resurrected in the EU. I didn't like that either. Let him be dead. Think of a new villain. But they don't know how to do that. They don't have any creativity, so they bring back Palpatine. And the saddest part is they brought a new villain in with Snoke, but then they killed him because they're so stupid. So it's just, they finally did something new, and no, kill him off with no explanation, just because we're going to bring back Palpatine. Oh, Star Wars has recently revealed the full details behind Project Necromancer and the resurrection of Emperor Palpatine, confirming that the goal of prolonging his life was in the works. Yeah, we already know that. Project Necromancer had been subtly teased since The Mandalorian Season 1 and Star Wars Bad Batch Season 3. Episodes 1 to 3 have finally revealed the last details. Now it's possible to get together a rough timeline of Project Necromancer, its partial success, and the ultimate good it left behind for the Star Wars galaxy. Here's everything we know. Yeah, so there's spoilers here. I don't watch Star Wars cartoons. I tried to watch The Bad Batch. I reviewed the first 2 episodes and then said I'm done. It was so boring and so crappy. Bad Batch Season 3, Episodes 1 to 3 officially confirmed that Project Necromancer is a secret cloning project conducted to prolong Emperor Palpatine's life. The Emperor never had any intention of ascribing the rule of 2, passing his empire on to his apprentice. Instead, he always planned on becoming immortal. Project Necromancer is a combination of dark side, force power, and advanced technology. Palpatine intends to transfer his spirit to a ready clone host body if and when his own is ever destroyed. Bad Batch Season 3 is confirmed that Project Necromancer was put in place decades before Palpatine was killed in Return of the Jedi. So there you go. So the Bad Batch Season 3 is packed full of content to try and get us to accept that Palpatine showed up out of nowhere in The Rise of Skywalker, because JJ didn't know what he was doing and didn't know what to do after Rian Johnson killed off Snoke. So literally, guys, we'll just stop for a second. So literally what they're getting you to do, if you are purchasing their products, is they are getting you to spend money on content that they create based on a sequel trilogy they didn't plan, admittedly, and killed off the main villain, and then brought back an old villain. So their crappy writing is why you're spending money to watch these shows. Like, literally, that's what they've done. And I mean, I guess from a business perspective, it's working. People are spending money on this, and it's absolutely ridiculous. If it had been a planned out thing, like in the EU, I still didn't like it. But you could at least say, well, this was the plan, and this is the storyline, and it's just part of a story. But it isn't. This is all being done because Rian Johnson made a crappy movie, killed off the villain. And then Kathleen Kennedy, instead of letting Trevorrow tell his story, where Kylo's the main villain, gave it to JJ, and JJ not knowing what to do and not having a main villain and feeling like Kylo can't really be the big bad because of what Johnson did to him in The Last Jedi. All of this centers around Rian Johnson in The Last Jedi, just so everybody's aware. He brings back Palpatine. Everything about the content you're watching, even in The Mandalorian, everything is because of Rian Johnson's decision-making in The Last Jedi. That's where your money is ultimately going towards, is towards stories that are being created, not because they're fun or interesting, but because of what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. Just let that sink in. This also supports all the teases from The Mandalorian as well as Marvel Comics' canonical Darth Vader series that the Emperor likely sought to extend his life. Whoop-de-doo! Secure the future of the Empire. From the moment he claimed his throne in the wake of Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, however, the creation of viable clone bodies for Palpatine to possess after death proved to be quite difficult. It makes sense why Palpatine devoted so much resources to Project Necromancer, seeing it as a critical key to his own survival and that of his empire. According to Bad Batch Season 3's premiere, the core problem lies with midichlorians, the organisms introduced in Episode 1 The Phantom Menace, blah, 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 okay, whatever. It's currently unclear why clone bodies struggle to hold meaningful M counts, but it likely has to do with the artificial nature of the body's creation. But he did that with Snoke. So this is what I mean with Disney, you guys. So he made an extremely force-powerful clone in Snoke. He did that. But now, but it's really hard for him to do it for himself. So we've got to make a bunch of content that you spend your money on. Like, it's so stupid. Secret Imperial black site hidden within Mount Tantus, a location from Star Wars Legends, was also had a secret cloning facility. Project Necromancer is being run by Dr. Hemlock with assistance from the Kaminoans and an entire team of cloning engineers using legions of imprisoned clone troopers as test subjects. Hemlock and Palpatine's full support to solve the inherent challenges behind viable force-sensitive bodies, turning this era during this era of the Star Wars timeline. Continued after his death in Return of the Jedi. Just so we're all aware, this also flies in the face of basic humanity or the way people would deal with something. So, for example, you've got a whole bunch of like bad guys, right? You've got all these bad guys, and the Empire's been defeated. In no realistic story would a bad guy like a Thrawn or Imperial officer be like, you know what? Yeah, let's keep working to bring the Emperor back so I lose power. That's not how it works. That's not how villains think. Villains seek their own power, their own control over people. They wouldn't be like, well, Palpatine's gone, and he was the one guy there was no way I was ever going to be above him and have power over him, so let me bring him back so I lose my power. That's the dumbest thing. It's not villainous at all. And again, this is all just done because of the stupid sequels. It's crazy to me the amount of effort and hoop jumping and stupidity that's taking place because of a stupid decision made by Rian Johnson. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling. And JJ, of course, as well. But I think JJ felt like Kylo was such a wussy in The Last Jedi that the viewers wouldn't believe that he could be the Supreme Leader. Although I think that was still a mistake. You still could have went that direction. Captain Paleon discussed the Imperial Remnant's future strategies, but that strength must not be wasted. Grand Admiral Thrawn's return will herald in the re-emergence of our military and provide Commandant Hux enough time to deliver on Project Necromancer. Why would a group of villains who are selfish, power-hungry people be working together to try and bring back the Emperor so that they'd lose their power? A guy that could literally just snap his fingers and kill them. This just makes no sense. This is so stupid. This means Thrawn's return in Ahsoka is all about buying the Imperial Remnant the time to resurrect Palpatine. Oh, great. Wow. I want another season of buying the Imperial Remnant's time. Please give me more. Let me spend more money on that. The experiments are continuing deep in the unknown regions, now led by Brendel Hux. I guess that's Hux's dad. And Grand Admiral Ray Sloan. It seems as though Project Necromancer will go undetected for decades thanks to Thrawn. So Thrawn's like the distraction. It's just... it's so stupid. There was supposed to be peace. Like, Disney screwed it up so bad, right? Because, again, they wrote in the Aftermath book that the Empire was done at Jakku, and then there was peace for, like, decades on end, and that's how the New Republic existed, and that's why they demilitarized. But then, no, now they're changing that. It's just retcon after retcon. Keep giving them your money, folks. Keep giving them your money. They have no clue what they're doing. The Empire spends decades working on Project Necromancer, but it was only a partial success. While Palpatine was able to transfer his consciousness to clone bodies, these would still deteriorate and diminish over time. This is why Palpatine had a decayed appearance. He had Snoke, though. That doesn't make sense. Why didn't he just go into one of the Snoke bodies? None of this makes sense. With his clone body so fragile he could not leave the Sith world of Exegol. Supreme Leader Snoke, meanwhile, was a Strandcast, a genetically engineered being whose disfigurations were likely due to the host body rejecting the midichlorians, except they didn't. He was force powerful. He trained Kylo. He trained Ben. Why didn't Palpatine go into his body then? If Palpatine can't leave Exegol, why wouldn't he have just transferred his essence into one of the Snoke clones? Do you see what I'm saying, people? This is so dumb. None of it makes sense. They screwed it up so bad. The sequels and Rian Johnson completely destroyed Star Wars, and now they can't do anything except spend all their time dealing with trying to prove why this makes sense, even though they can't. And then now you're wasting, like, The Mandalorian Season 3 sucked. Everybody hated it. First 2 seasons were pretty good, and then they switched it to, like, we gotta prove Palpatine, and that's what they spent the season on. Like, honestly, this is what they're doing. They're so terrible. And all they had to do was decanonize the sequels, which is what everybody wanted, and just start again. Just say they're done. They're alternate universe. No, they're gonna spend 25 years trying to make this make sense, and while doing that, make it make even less sense. It's important to note that the past failures of Project Necromancer led to the ultimate good for the Star Wars galaxy. Rey Skywalker's father, Dathan, was a genetic strand cast with a low M count, meaning he was seen as a failure, however. And all of this, of course, was made up halfway through shooting The Rise of Skywalker, which Daisy Ridley said in an interview. She said they were halfway through filming when she finally was told she was going to be a Palpatine. Right? So it's all made up stupidness. It doesn't make any sense. So Dathan had a low metachlorian count, but somehow, so think of what they're saying. So on one hand, they're saying it's very difficult to get a high metachlorian count with a clone, but they did it with Snoke. But then he failed with Rey's dad, but then he somehow had a kid with a high metachlorian count. Like, it's just, the whole thing is so stupid. Why didn't they just make Rey a solo in the EU? Like, it would have been so much easier. And then they have all this crap. But it's content, right? That's what I was saying at the beginning. That's what I said in my last video about Yoda. It's just content. It's to keep you people buying stuff. It's to keep the money train rolling, even though it's not very much money anymore. It's still some money. Having been born naturally with a high M count, Rey became key to Palpatine's plans. How did she have that, though? It doesn't make any sense. If she was a natural birth from, like, 2 people, then you could say, okay, well, that's just a natural genetic thing. But if she's literally taking on the traits of the Strandcast, and the Strandcast can't have a high M count, then that doesn't make much sense, does it? It's so stupid, especially following the confirmation she was part of a powerful force dyad with Ben Solo, which again, they made up last minute because they had to explain why she didn't need training. While Palpatine could have gained the strength he'd long desired by draining Rey's power, he was ultimately defeated. How did he drain her power if he was so weak? Right? It's just problem after problem after problem. How did Palpatine, so the dyad is standing there, Ben and Rey are standing there, this all-powerful dyad that can transfer literal objects through space, right? She transferred there was the beads, there was the berries, she sent the lightsaber to him. They are so powerful as a dyad, they can literally move objects through time and space, teleport them instantly. And he's so weak that he has to be, like, his cloned body, I guess, is what they're saying now, has to be attached to a machine, and yet he sucked all the juice out of them and they couldn't do anything about it. None of it makes sense. None of it makes sense. Why couldn't they stop him from doing that if he was so weak and they're so powerful? It doesn't make any sense. He was ultimately defeated, ironically, by an inadvertent product of his own design. This whole thing makes no sense, and you're watching The Bad Batch, and you're paying money for Disney, and you're doing all this because they're creating content from their stupid mistakes. That's literally what they're doing. They made a whole pile of absolutely stupid decisions in the sequel trilogy, and then now they are banking on you supporting their new projects that spend all of their time explaining the stupidity of the sequels that make no sense. You guys let me know in the comment section what you think. I think this whole thing is so ridiculous, I can't even believe it. I can't believe this is even real, that this is what they're doing. They could have just decanonized the sequels and ended it. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening as usual. Please like and subscribe if you do like this content because it really helps my channel. And enjoy any of the other content on my channel if you do. And have yourselves a really good day.